It's the Poker Show with Jesse May.
Well, we're halfway through the World Series of Poker, and there's some tired guys going through the motion thinking, should I have come so early? 40 days and 40 nights. It's not the Great Flood. It's the World Series. And every day there's more and more agonized, tortured faces. They look like Paula Radcliffe running through the Athens streets down the balustrade. But you know what? It's a long race. Some guys are coming in fresh. They're all in the big mix at the World Series of Poker. You're watching The Poker Show. Joining me, as always, my friend, Padraig Parkinson. Padraig, there's been a lot of talk about dead money at this year's World Series, but the Irish have put a new twist on that.
Well, they usually do, but this time they've really surpassed themselves. You know, there's a lot of talk. There's going to be 6,600 runners. So a lot of the bookmakers that are betting on this event are just betting on guys getting to the last table, just to keep things a little bit realistic. But Paddy Power's Irish bookmakers have gone a little bit too far, we think, in the dead money thing.
Well, they've opened up a new poker market. I mean, they've opened up a new poker room, so you'd think they'd kind of know what was going on in the poker betting business.
Well, you'd think they would, but I mean, Ireland's Ireland. And they've heard of Johnny Moss. He's a triple world champion. He's one of the legends of the game. And he's 66 to 1 with Paddy Power to make the final table. Now, it's not a very generous price because there's going to be 6,600 runners. There's going to be mayhem at the start. So, it doesn't matter how many world titles you've won. It's going to be pretty tricky to get to the last table. And in Johnny Moss's case, it's going to be extra tricky because the man's been dead for 2 years.
So, dead money in a literal sense. And it's all in betting, isn't it? So, I mean, if a guy doesn't run, you still lose your money.
Yeah, we've been through the Paddy Powers rules. There's no stipulation for you getting your money back if it turns out that the guy you've backed is indeed an ex-poker player.
Well, we thought we'd maybe call Paddy Power and see just how much they'd be willing to take on this bet. Because, I mean, Padraig, how far would you be willing to go? Would you lay Johnny Moss here?
Certainly would. I don't really fancy his chances unless Paddy Power knows something that nobody else does.
Well, let's give him a call here on The Poker Show. This is Paddy Power, the Irish bookmaker. We'll be asking them just how far they'll go with Johnny Moss.
Paddy Power Delegate, keep speaking of account number, please.
Yes, I can give you my username.
Okay.
It's Fried Cod, Fried COD.
How many Smith kids?
How many, excuse me?
How many Smith kids?
How many? Oh, is that the question? 11?
And your name, sir?
Jesse May?
How can I help, Mr. May?
Thanks. I'm calling from The Poker Show, and I heard that you guys are running some World Series of Poker betting markets.
Have a look now.
It's in the novelty section. I mean, it's unbelievable. These guys have got a poker room. They've got the prices in the novelty section.
Series poker, yeah?
Yep.
Final table.
Yeah, that's what I was after. Have you got a price there on Johnny Moss?
Jerry Moss.
Johnny Moss, three-time world champion, fantastic player.
Johnny Moss, 66 to 1.
66 to make the final table. What I wanted to find out, how much could I get down on that, do you think? I mean, do you guys...
Your card there is actually expired. Do you have a new expiry date on your MasterCard?
Well, I would try and get some new money in, but I was trying to find out, what kind of bet I could get down if I'm going to back.
Oh, you could place as much as you like there.
You'll take anything, would you? You think you guys would?
It depends. There may be, like you wouldn't be able to put like millions on our hundreds of tables.
No, millions would be strong. I mean, would I be able to get, say, 2,000, you think, at that price?
2,000. I'll put in hold a second, I'll just ask.
Okay, thanks very much.
Okay, thank you.
Well, they've been very fair so far.
It's not the first credit card I've had that's expired.
How much do you think we should have on?
They'll take 2,000, Parg. I mean, it'd be pretty hard not to go for it, wouldn't it?
I wouldn't advise it.
I'll tell you, I'm going to try and bet 100.
Mr. May,
Yes, hello.
just stay on the line for 1 second, I'll just be back with you in a moment. Okay?
All right, cheers. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
I mean, you have to appreciate this is going to take a little bit of time because it's a whole new concept, betting on dead guys in the World Series, so they've probably got a few teething problems.
Mr. May,
Yes, hello.
the maximum we'll actually take on that bet because it's a novelty is 200.
200.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'd like to try and get a bet down.
Okay. Just 1 second. Do you have a new expiry?
Can you back them each way, dead or alive?
I just wanted to check just quickly. It's all in betting, or that's what it said. Does that mean if he doesn't actually run, then I lose the money, or what?
If he doesn't participate?
Yes.
Okay, can we just hold 1 second?
Yeah, and also, I mean, I know this sounds a little strange, but what if perchance he, like, let's say he dies before the event starts?
Okay, I'll just find out for that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. May,
Yes, hello.
it's all in whether he takes part or not.
All in whether he takes. So once I make the bet, whether he takes part or not, it's a bet. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I'm gonna put my credit card details in, and then I'll give a call back if I still want to back him. I appreciate the help.
Okay, thanks very much.
All right. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, the odds compiler might know what he's doing, but you have to take it. I mean, there's a bit of Irish hospitality. What a nice guy.
Hey, he couldn't have been nicer.
Couldn't have been nicer.
I don't think that guy knows poker from sailing, but well, he did find out for me. And
well, that's not his job, but he's not the guy to compile the odds.
So there you have it. 66-1. You can back Johnny Moss. Unfortunately, he's been dead for years. 3-time World Series champion, though. Couldn't get a better record than that, Parg.
No, and unfortunately, for anybody who's going to back Mr. Moss, it's not going to get any better.
Welcome back, Parg. You're Irish. So is Donnacha O'Dea. How well do you know him?
I know Donnacha pretty well, but I knew of Donnacha way before I ever met him. Donnacha was a hero back in the 60s in Ireland. You know, he qualified to represent Ireland in the 68 Olympics as a swimmer, and Donnacha was a bit of a novelty as a member of the Irish swimming team. He was the only guy that didn't have to be rescued during the training. But all joking apart, I mean, he was a world-class swimmer. I mean, he was just below top class, and he was a huge deal. Like, I was only like 10 or 11, but I was very aware of through the Irish media of the name Donnacha O'Dea. So I mean, he was a big star back then.
All conversations for the last 25 years about European poker could start and end with this man. He was one of the first Europeans to win a World Series of Poker bracelet. He's the defending Poker Million champion. Please welcome Donnacha O'Dea. But Donnacha, your World Series of Poker bracelet, what year did you win it?
I have to keep thinking about that. I think it was 99 or 98. I'm not sure.
It was 98.
98, okay, I believe you.
And there hadn't been a whole lot of Europeans who had won World Series bracelets up to that point.
I don't know really. I didn't think about that. But yeah, I mean, there's obviously a lot of guys that you would have expected to have won one, like Surinder, who hasn't won one yet. He's come quite close. He's been second and third. So they are difficult to pick up.
Well, I mean, the way Parg tells it, I mean, it wasn't easy. You got head up with Johnny Chan, and he had the chips.
Yeah, we were level when we got head up, but then he got about 75% of the chips, and he kept pounding away at me, and I was sort of playing defensively, but I came back at him, and in 3 hands it was all over, you know, just bang, bang, bang. So it was pretty sweet. I mean, it was quite an anticlimax because I came second in my second year here in '83, and I also got to the final table in the big one. So, you know, I thought, well, I didn't win it this year, but I'll probably win one next year or the year after. So, like 15 years later, you know, it was, I was in shock, you know. Yeah, so it didn't really register.
Well, what he's not telling you is that this was a very pure bracelet win because Johnny Chan had at least 8 rebuys and add-ons, and Donnacha didn't have any. So Donnacha was in this event for 1,500, and Johnny Chan was in it for like either 12,000 or 13,500. You know, a lot of guys that win these Omaha bracelets, they've bought their position early on in the tournament. Donnacha didn't, so it obviously means a lot to you doing it that way rather than.
Well, the funny thing is that I had a terrible table. I wasn't really feeling great that morning, and I looked around me and I thought I had Devilfish on one side of me, and I think somebody like Surinder on the other side, and there was hardly a weak spot, and I was sort of thinking, if I lose my chips, will I rebuy? Because this is such a bad table, and it wasn't going to break for a while. Right. So I didn't have to make that decision,
There was somebody
luckily.
else at that table. I can remember that now that you
But the
mention
funny
it.
thing is, I remember people years ago saying to me that, they found they always did better when they had a tough table than when they had an easy one. But you always like to have an easy table to feel as easy money to
Well, I need
pick
these.
up.
Not many tough tables at this World Series. I mean, there's obviously some great players, but the fields are so big.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking around me yesterday and I didn't sort of know anybody, it's just weird.
You just mentioned your first year here, 82 at the World Series. I mean, and back then you actually were jumping in the big game with Doyle and the boys, weren't you?
Yeah, I don't know. I was a bit more over enthusiastic in those days, and I just sort of wanted to see where I stood. I came out winning on the trip overall that time. Just a small winner, but I got stuck. Got stuck early on and got it back.
And there was always a seat open for you back then, or?
Oh yeah, I didn't realize they were making it 10-handed for me. They
got
kept
over that
saying.
one.
I said, "But there's 4 names on the list." Oh no, they don't want to play. So. I didn't really know what was going on. There always seemed to be a chair. Everybody seemed to be moving around, and
I mean, who impressed you in that game, and who was in it?
let me see. There was Dewey Tomko was playing, Dodie Roach, Doyle and Chip. Sometimes played that. Sometimes they played 3. It was 25, 25, 50, and 100 no limit hold'em. So sometimes they played 3 and 6 limit. Jack Strauss, Stewie. I mean, it was just a nightmare lineup. I wouldn't even. You couldn't pay me to play in that game now. But it was. I mean, that was the only game. And a few people were saying to me, "Why don't you play the 25-50?" No, I want to see how I do against these guys.
And then 83, you say you made the final table of the main event. Was that when McAvoy won it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, McAvoy won it. I was going really well, and I decided there was a guy called R.R. Pennington, Roadrunner was his name, and he had a sort of a strange demeanor. He was one of the few people in those days who wore dark glasses, and he had a nose like a beak. And I took a dislike to him. And every time it was my blind, he raised he hit the button. So he raised me 3 times in a row. So I said, if he does it again, I'm going over the top of him. So sure enough, he did, and he called me, and I had about 100,000 in chips at that stage. So the flop, actually, I had sort of a 6-8 offsuit or something, and I flopped a pair with a queen came out, queen 7-6 or something. So I didn't have a bad flop. Yeah. I bet about 20,000, and he moved all in. I had to throw it away. So I lost about half my chips.
That's about the only time you ever did that in your life.
Well, I'll tell you, yeah. It took me a while to recover from that, So I sort of thought, you just never should just get personal with somebody and sort of think,
Well, we're going to be back a little later to talk with you, but we also have a game here we'd like to, if you'd play with us. It's called the Knee Trembler. I don't know, nerves are a big part of poker, and there's a 6-foot putt on our putting green outside, and it's really to test your nerves. There's your weapon. We're going to bring you up there a little later, and we'll be back with our second guest, and a little later to see Donnacha O'Dea taking the Knee Trembler.
Can we get a card for him?